America, the world's watching. My question to everyone is, what do we do when the cameras go away, when all the attention is shifted elsewhere, with everything that's going on? I just wanted to do another quick video and touch base on a couple things that I meant um, to mention in my previous videos. Just want to be real quick. First, I just want to say I don't condone violence in any way, but I want people to understand that whenever you see violence erupting uh, because of racial injustices, um, that's natural. That's a part of the process. In any country where there's some kind of revolt, where there's some kind of minority that has, that has been marginalized, um, there's always revolts. The only problem I have is whenever it happens in African countries or black countries in the Caribbean, the way the media portrays them or the way people perceive it is different from when it happens in Europe. If you're around my age and you grew up around, around the 90s, you'll remember, everything that happened in Europe, particularly in like the Yugoslavia, the former Yugoslavia area. I'm not going to get into much of that, but, you know, um, it has a lot to do with, marginalization and discrimination, things like that. I'm not going to get into too much of that, but all I'm saying is when we um, attack people that are committing these, acts of violence, and we're calling them different names like monkeys and things like that, we're literally justifying the reason for those actions in the first place, because it's because of marginalization. It's because of things like when certain groups of people wear certain hairstyles, they're viewed differently from when other groups of people wear those same hairstyles. When, I don't know, when certain type of women do provocative dancing, we give them different names from other women when they do those same types of behavior. And y'all know exactly what I'm getting at. But I just want people in this country to understand that, look, let's just deal with it. This is a multiracial, multinational, multi-ethnic society that we live in. Just deal with it. There are other countries in the world that, that are similar, and do your homework, do the research, ask other people in other countries that are, multilingual. I hear a lot of people say, oh, um, well, speak English. We're in America. There was a situation recently the other day. I'm not going to get into all that, but um, real quickly, I just want people to understand that uh, English is the national language, not the official language of the United States. There's a difference. Do the research. I'm not going to get into that, but I don't want to talk too much on that. I just want to just basically prove the notion that, look, we just need to learn about other people. Um, that way, acts of violence and oppression, things like that, would significantly decline. Um, One thing I want to also say is, okay, like for example, I have a real problem with this. Like, I have nothing but love and respect to my Portuguese friends out there, nothing but love. Um, but where I used to live for quite some time, there was a very large Portuguese population, and a lot of the people, they did not really speak any English. But where I worked at the time, when they needed a translator, they got their translator, and there was no problem with that. They were never discriminated. No one ever discriminated against them for speaking their native language. And I feel like everybody has the right to speak their native language. I don't care what country you're from. I don't care what part of the world you're from. I don't care if you're from Portugal. I don't care where you're from. You have every right to speak your native language. I just feel as though in this country, a lot of times people are discriminated for speaking their native language simply because of their skin color. And all of this is hatred across the board. It's oppression, it's marginalization across the board, and it's because of a lack of understanding. It's a lack of acceptance, and that's what needs to be addressed. Because the funny thing is, again, I have nothing but love for Portuguese people. I have several Portuguese friends, but I just feel as though if a Cape Verdean is speaking their language, which is, obviously Cape Verdean Creole, or even if they speak in Portuguese, they're more likely to have someone say, "This is America, speak English." And that's racist. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's obviously because of the color of their skin. So I think it's the same way. When obviously 18% of this country is uh, Hispanic, and that things like that tends to happen. Oh, speak English. We're in America. Is this type of hatred that's portrayed in the media that we need to change? My point is, everything that's going on, we can do, change police reform, but we gotta change other aspects too. I know I touched base on other aspects in my last video, but another aspect that really needs to change is the media. It's the way we perceive people, it's the way we're portraying people. Especially, for example, when it comes to black men, when you see movies, TV shows, it's always a thug, it's always a gangbanger. You never see a black man that's an educated person, that's a business owner, that's a family man. And that's the reason why a lot of white Americans have a misconception, have a misguided view of what black people are. Because if you're not black and you don't grow up around black people, the only thing you're gonna know about black people is what you see on TV about black people. And these are the things that need to change. If these type of ideologies weren't weren't prevalent, then there would be less police brutality. And I think that's definitely an aspect that needs to be addressed and attacked. I just want people to understand. I'm going to give a couple of examples as far as multi-ethnic, multinational languages, countries. I mean, for example, Switzerland. If you go to Switzerland, they speak German, they speak French, Italian. They also speak a language called Romansh. Small portion of the population. My point is, they all get along with each other. It's a very multi-linguistic country, and they coexist. Why can't we do that here? Why can't we all speak our languages? Whether it's English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, whatever it is, Haitian Creole, Cape Verdean Creole, whatever it is, we should all be able to speak our languages with no problem. Because, like I said, there's other countries like Switzerland where that's not an issue. You have a country like Singapore, that's in Southeast Asia, right near Malaysia, right off of Malaysia, where their population is basically native ethnic Malays, Southeast Asian ethnic group. The majority of the population are Chinese people. Then you have what are called Tamils from South India, and then you also have a small portion of Europeans. But they all get along, they all coexist, they're all Singaporean, and they all blend into one identity, one culture. It's okay to be proud of your race and be proud of your nationality at the same time. And I think that's what this country is having a hard time with, is seeing Black America and white America as obviously two separate races, but the same nationality, the same identity at the same time. And that's what I mean by, I posted one time on social media that America has an identity crisis. That's one of the things I meant by that. So we have to tackle that issue head on, because that's part of what's causing that fear and that tension and that resistance. So I just wanted to address also, there's a ideology shift that needs to be made. For example, if you are, let's say, German American or Italian American or Irish American, your great grandfather or great grandmother came here 100 years ago. There was a time where these groups of people were discriminated against by their own fellow white people. They were viewed as foreign. They were, they were called different names and things like that. But it got to a point where these groups of people assimilated into the population, and they weren't discriminated as much. And white Americans, that the colonial white Americans, so to speak, got to a point where they embraced and accepted those people, because they viewed them as, hey, at the end of the day, you're white just like me. So it only took about 100 years or so. But what I don't understand is Black Americans who have been here 300-400 years longer than these other groups of people. White America can't get to that realization and saying, you know what, you're not the same race as me, but just the same nationality as me. So we have to adopt that kind of mentality, that philosophy, and that works all across the board, regardless of race, language, ethnicity, all of that. I think that's something that definitely needs to be addressed and worked on, because that goes a long way as far as marginalization and how to end that. I'm going to do another video soon that's going to address a lot of these issues and these topics more in depth. But I just want to say one last thing. Honestly, people, what I never understood ever since I was a kid is, how can you hate somebody over something they can't control? We can't control who our parents are. You know what I'm saying? We can't control who has sex with who. Okay, we all adults here. We can't control who sleeps with who. That's what determines our race. We don't control who our ancestors are, what our ancestry is. So there's no sense of hating somebody over something that they can't control. When at the end of the day, We all the same, man. We all human. So with that being said, everybody, one country, one culture. Let's all embrace each other, put it into this marginalization, say no to racism, and let's end police brutality and all this racism once and for all. It's long overdue, but God bless everybody.